Hello, word listeners. Welcome to another episode. I'm Alex, your host, and today we're diving into a fascinating word, decade. This word is a B1 level noun, meaning a period of 10 years. A decade is simply a period of 10 years, often used to mark significant periods of time or change. For example, we might talk about the 1980s as a specific decade, characterized by certain trends in music, fashion, and culture. The term is widely used in history, science, and everyday conversations. So, a decade is 10 years, plain and simple. Let's explore some synonyms. A word with a similar meaning, although not perfectly interchangeable, is 10 years. We could say the band's popularity spanned a decade, or the band's popularity spanned 10 years. Another similar term is 10-year period. For instance, the project took a decade to complete, or the project took a 10-year period to complete. Both convey the same duration of time. Think about the difference in how often we say 10 years versus decade. Decade sounds a little more formal or perhaps a bit more impactful. It's often used when discussing significant changes or milestones. Now, let's consider antonyms. It's a little tricky to find direct antonyms for decade because it's a specific unit of time. However, we can consider shorter or longer periods as contrasting terms. For example, a shorter period could be a year. A lot can happen in a decade contrasts with a lot can happen in a year. You see, a year is a smaller unit of time, highlighting the difference. Another contrasting term could be a month. The construction lasted a decade contrasts with the construction lasted a month. Here, we emphasize the much shorter duration of the construction period. Or a week. It took a decade to finish the book contrasts with it took a week to finish the presentation. The vast difference in time highlights the contrast. Another good contrasting term is century. While not a direct opposite, it represents a significantly longer time frame. The city's history spans several decades, contrasts with the city's history spans several centuries. You see how century gives a sense of a much greater span of time. Another example is millennium. The research project lasted a decade versus the discovery shaped the next millennium. You can easily see the incredible difference. Now, let's see how we can use decade in everyday life. We often use it when discussing trends, historical events, or personal milestones. For instance, you might say, the fashion of the 1990s is making a comeback. Or, my grandparents celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary, marking 5 decades of marriage. Or, maybe you're talking about your own life. I've learned so much in the last decade of my life. Think about news stories, too. You might hear, scientists have been studying this phenomenon for nearly 2 decades. It's a common way to express a length of time, especially when talking about longer projects or significant periods. We can use decade in lots of ways. Here are some examples in sentences and phrases. She's been a teacher for over 2 decades. This tells us she's had a long career in education. The company has seen rapid growth in the last decade. This indicates the business has been doing well recently. He's been collecting stamps for the past 3 decades. That means he has a long-standing hobby. The decade of the 1960s was a time of great social change. This sentence shows it was a period of important events. They've lived in that house for almost 4 decades. This means they've stayed in one place for a long time. The technology industry has transformed significantly in the last decade. This illustrates the rapid advancements that have occurred. Researchers spent a decade studying the effects of climate change. This shows a dedicated long research. That song is a classic from the last decade. It shows that song is a classic hit. It feels like just yesterday, even though it was a decade ago. That means time passes quickly. After a decade of hard work, he finally achieved his dream. This sentence shows that it needs time to reach the dream. Each decade brings new challenges and opportunities. Every 10 years, new things happen. The experiment was carried out over a decade. 10 years was the time that experiment needed. They celebrated a decade in business. That means 10 years passed since they opened the company. She has been involved with the charity for over a decade. Her help lasted for a long time. We've made significant progress in this field over the past decade. That means important things happened. The building was renovated after several decades of neglect. It took a while to renovate. The museum showcased artifacts from various decades. Many eras were showed in the museum. The population has increased significantly in the last decade. That means the number of citizens got more. The fashion trend resurfaced after a decade. The fashion got back. He published his first novel a decade ago. Time since first book publication. Today, we've learned all about the word decade, its meaning as a period of 10 years, synonyms like 10 years or 10-year period, and contrasting terms like year or century. We've also explored how it is used in everyday conversations and sentences. Thank you for joining me on Hello Word. Your support means a lot. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your reviews help others find the show and learn English too. Now, I challenge you to create your own sentence using the word decade and share it as a comment under this video. I'm looking forward to reading all your sentences. See you next time.